Hello y'all, this is Daisy. Welcome back to my Tiny Town Challenge attempt. It's been a bit since we were with Opal, so I'm excited to get back on here and share the next Townie's adventures with y'all. We just got this one, and then one more to go. I haven't decided where I'm going with the challenge just yet, but I'll definitely be working on stop motion videos, so I hope y'all come back for those. And I'm open to ideas if anyone feels like sharing in the comments on any of my videos. I'm still just a tiny little channel, so I do read every comment I get. At this point, I'm visualizing a tiny town too, maybe, but I don't know, we'll see. Now, as I said, in the last one, we followed Opal through her part of the challenge. I didn't really do anything else with her or the town. I just jumped right on in with the next one. And so with that said, I spun the wheel, and our remaining two are Cypress and Annie, and the wheel landed on Annie. So we'll be playing as Annie Aperture, and Cypress will be the last one in the town. So this is Annie Aperture. When Deligracy chose the name, she meant for it to be Alice, she said, for like Alice through the looking glass. Before I had seen that explanation, though, I thought Annie was meant to be for Annie Leibovitz, the world-famous photographer. I also kind of like the name Annie more than Alice, not that there's anything wrong with Alice per se, so I just stuck with that for her name. So as the last have been, except for Azure, this is Deli's sim that I downloaded from the gallery. And also, as with the others, I added several changes to her main outfits. I also changed her hair color a little by adding the red swatch in the front. Everything else, as far as traits and such, I of course left as she comes. Annie Aperture has the photography skill. Her decor style is industrial/minimalist, which I took to mean as industrial or minimalist because those are two incredibly different styles in my opinion. I am a clutter queen with my builds, so minimalist is probably not going to be something I'm into or good at for that matter, so I went with the industrialist decor style, and Annie's color is red. I moved Annie in with Opal and had Opal drop off some items for the other townies and put her money in the safe, when Annie started us off with some drama by setting a new outdoor gathering place on fire. So yeah, we're off to a great start. Luckily, no one died in this one, probably thanks to the jewelry Opal gave everyone. And I had them clean up the mess so we could try again. All of the townies moved out and then settled back in as roommates, except for Opal, who wanted to give Annie the ring that she had made her. Annie was so touched that this new friend thought so much of her already to make her something so beautiful, and she took it as a sign that she had made the right decision in packing up all she owned and leaving all she knew and loved for a new life in this place called Tiny Town. Once Opal was also settled as a roommate, Annie went to check out her plot of land. In her little area, she saw she had a small camera and a few other items that she could sell, so she chose to sell them on the market table, hoping to get a bit of a markup so she would have enough for a little bit better camera to begin with. At the end of the sale, she had 933 simoleons, which wasn't enough for a really good one. That one was $2,000, but she was able to get the appreciably average digital camera for 670, which wasn't too bad and would give her a little more money than the basic one would have. She turned it on and immediately started snapping some photos, starting with this handsome grocery delivery guy. And with his permission, of course, she immediately dropped them all on the table to sell. I'm sure some people would love to have an average quality photo of their favorite neighborhood delivery guy, right? Even with a 300% markup, however, these first photos were only bringing in 40 simoleons apiece, so she knew that making enough money to build her dream home was going to be slow going. For those measly profits, it certainly wasn't worth standing at the table for hours on end, so she decided instead to just snap random nature photos in high-def format and with different filters and just sell them in stacks. Luckily, it doesn't cost anything to take each photo, so she could just do this for a while until she got her photography skill up a little higher and make enough money to buy the next level camera. After a few bathroom selfies and some photos with Azure, it was time to make use of the little apartment and lie down for her first night's sleep in Tiny Town. The next morning, she had received rent from all the tiny townies, so she dropped it off into the bank. Then she headed upstairs to the community computer to handle some business. Now, there isn't really an aspiration for the photography skill, so she would basically just be maxing out her skill and building her home, which was fine for her because it had quickly become obvious that this was going to take a while. She decided to sign up as a freelance photographer so she could sign up for jobs specific to photography, which would bring in more money than selling a handful of random photos at a time, and would also give her experience and help level up her photography skill. I want to give just a quick rundown of the freelancer career. Added in 2019, the freelancer career lets you work as digital artist, programmer, or writer, and then the Moschino Pack adds the fashion photographer career as well. Instead of a regular job with a schedule and such, this career allows you to set your own hours and work when it's convenient to you. Just be sure to complete all the tasks and submit the photo to the client in time, or you won't be paid, obviously. You sign up for the freelancer career by going to your phone or your computer as you do any other. Once there, it will prompt you to choose an agency, and each are tied to the careers I mentioned before. So Annie chose the agency titled Tomorrow's Style. You click this little clipboard icon on the right to check for gigs, and it will pop up with a selection with different skill level requirements. For whatever reason, and Deli came across this as well, for the first gigs you can choose from, Annie was offered one for 6,000 simoleons, and it only required one skill level. She went ahead and took that one because she didn't just fall off the turnip truck, but future jobs won't pay as well, so don't think she's getting off easy or anything. For most of the jobs, you will first chat with the client, which can be done via the computer, and then you take the required photo or photos. Then you go into your inventory, click on the photo you want, and then click to submit it for client's approval. After about a sim hour and a half, you'll get a notification that it's been approved, and the photo will disappear from your inventory. Then for whatever reason, the game relies on snail mail for the next part, and 1 or 2 days later, you will get the photo back in your home's mailbox. Once you've gotten it back, you then return to the digital age by hanging the photo on the wall. You can't just click it in your inventory for some reason, and then clicking on it to submit it to Simstagram. And then you'll immediately get a notification stating how well you did and the payment, which is often more than originally stated. So yeah, it's kind of an odd process, but it can pay pretty well, and it's better than the 9-to-5 grind. For one of her first gigs, she was tasked to submit photos of a sim in formal wear. All of the roomies were at work, so she went to a local diner where she ran into Anaya Jang. She asked if she wouldn't mind posing for her, and Anaya quickly switched to this amazingly beautiful gown, and Annie snapped her shots. Then she kindly thanked her for her time and ran back home to finish the steps to complete the job. Since it was going to be a while before she heard back about the photos, she figured she'd snap some random photos in the meantime. Ziggy looked like a good first target, so she grabbed some action shots of him and sold those for 38 simoleons. Opal was excited to participate and posed for hers, which was nice of her, but they still only brought her 40 bucks. But she did reach the 3rd level of the photography skill. Then she refreshed all of her needs and headed to bed. The next morning, she took a bunch more random photos and decided she'd sell them in a yard sale again, since she had to wait to get the freelance photo back anyway. It again took absolutely forever and made very little money, but finally the mail came. She ran to collect it and was happy to see the photo was there, along with the bills for the town. So she ran and got the money for those and paid them. And then she submitted the final photo. The feedback said, Annie Aperture's photo is a huge success. The client loves it, and the president called her to express her gratitude. And Annie was paid 1,320 simoleons. She decided to get started on another job since it takes so long, and figured she'd better grab that 6,000 simoleon job while it was still available. The client wanted a sim in everyday attire, and Ziggy happily posed for her. She submitted the photo, and after it was approved, she received it back in the mail the next day. She posted it to Simstagram and was happy to see it was even more than promised, as she received 7,326 simoleons. The feedback said the internet loves Alice's photo, and client rejoices at the positive reaction. And because of the nice payout, we were able to start building her home. As I said before, I decided on the industrial design style, and I thought a home made out of shipping containers would be cool. I didn't really want it to be solely shipping container, however, so I planned to add a brick building section as well. She had a decent amount of money to start, but nowhere near enough for a full house. She was also moving really slowly with a photography skill, and since she had access to a full apartment, I decided to build the studio portion of her home first. That way she could earn money with the freelance photography gigs and get her skill up at the same time. Later, I planned to expand the building to a 2-story using a mix of 2 shipping containers and a brick building. And so at this point, she had a small photography studio in a shipping container with a small bathroom and a place to sleep. Her roomies helped her out with her next job, which was to take photos of a group of Sims in swimwear. She again had time to kill while she waited for the client's response to the swimwear photos, so she decided to go down to the creek. Before moving to Tiny Town, she had been seeing a lady named Lynn and thought it would be nice to take a swim with her. She told Lynn she looked beautiful that day and asked if she could take some photos of her. And while she was setting up her tripod to take more, the mayor of Hinford-on-Bagley stopped by, so she asked to take some of him as well, thinking they should sell rather nicely with the people in town. He turned out to be a surprisingly good model. He paid her with a plate of eggplant parmesan, which would normally be quite odd, but she was famished, so it worked out. The next day, she sold the mayor's photos at another yard sale, but still only made about 400 simoleons. Looks like the freelance gigs are going to be the best way to make money with this one. And speaking of that, her client got back on the swimwear fashion shoot, and she made another 1,500 simoleons. It was such a beautiful day, and she was overdue for some time with her neighbors, so she decided to make use of their outdoor community space and invited everyone over.
Whoa, hey, you've been working out, huh?
Anyway, a nice time was had by all. Annie had been thinking of how she could contribute to the community and got the idea to take interesting portraits of each of the tiny townies to display for all to enjoy. So she went back to her studio to get set up. She decided to start with Frank, who showed up looking dapper in his fancy suit. She submitted one of those for her current photography gig and then took another more fun shot of him as well. Then she called over the lovely Kalani couple and took one of them and another of the beautiful Azure. The next day, after selling a bunch of photos she had taken, she had enough for a bit of an expansion on her home. I finished off the basic design of the lower floor by building the brick section that would ultimately connect the two floors. That 5,000 simoleons didn't go too far, let me tell you. Luckily, the client liked her portrait of Frank so much, they paid her more than 7,000 for it. She signed up for another job, this one for Estella Landgrab Fashions, with a 2,500 simoleon payout. She chose Azure to be her model again and tried out a floor marker to direct her to stand and get into some high fashion poses. After selling a large number of photos and completing another freelance job, there was enough to complete another expansion, this time pretty much completing the shell of what will be her home. The studio will remain where it was, where the upper floor will be her main living space, and now Annie's got to get back to work so that she can furnish it all. The high fashion shoot with Azure earned her another 3,000 simoleons, and she signed up for another gig. For this job, she chose Beatrice, who she hadn't had a chance to photograph yet. She chose a city skyline background that seemed to go well with Bee's clothing choice and found, not surprisingly, that she was a natural. Next up was Opal, for whom she chose a simple gradient background. She got some great shots of her, one she used for the current job she'd been hired for, and then she pulled Frank back in for an excellent shot highlighting his signature color green. Ain't that a great photo? Now don't worry, she certainly hadn't forgotten Ziggy. He was just rarely home, seeing as he was out with his girlfriend Angela all the time. And man, if Ziggy ain't got some swagger. Then her girlfriend Lynn stopped by, so she got some great photos of her as well. The photo of Opal made the client happy, and she was paid 2,265 simoleons, and she also gained level 2 of the entrepreneur skill. She signed up for another job, and Beatrice posed for that one as well, and again did a great job. As she was changing the settings on her camera, she received a call from Simon Scott. He's the owner of the Gnome's Arms pub in Hinford-on-Bagley, who's married to Sarah. Strangely, he had called to confess that he had a crush on Annie.
Oh, scandalous!
And well, as flattered as she was, she isn't attracted to men, and especially not married ones. She suggested they should just be friends and made a mental note to check with Sarah later to be sure everything was okay at home. She had been taking and selling many photos, and on top of the pay for the gig, her most recent job earned her a bonus of 1,521 simoleons, the coveted Supreme Freelancer Award, increased pay on all gigs, and the ClickShot P10 mirrorless camera. She decided to sell her current camera in a yard sale, with a bit of an uptick, of course, and was able to sell it for 6,448 simoleons. She was so close to maxing the photography skill, so she called Beatrice over to take another set of artsy photos, and then Opal came to help as well, and she finally maxed the photography skill. But because she was in camera mode when it happened, it almost went by unnoticed. But she did, finally, max the photography skill! And so after earning a decent sum of money, she was able to finally finish her tiny home. Annie's home also included a commercial space, which is her contribution to the tiny town. More on that in a minute. The second floor of the building is Annie's industrial-style living space, full of all she needs to live comfortably. And also includes an outdoor patio area where she can relax, cook on the grill, and/or entertain friends. Annie had decided early on that her contribution to Tiny Town would be an art gallery that was open to the community. She felt a space for her to hang her photos and for Azure to hang her art would be ideal. People could come and view the art and even purchase some that they like. So in the center, she had hung some of Azure's paintings, many of them masterpieces, of course. And on the perimeter, she hung a few of her prize photos she had taken of the residents of Tiny Town. And up front is a little market area where they would sell the art that people wanted to buy. The counter and cash register, of course, are just for luck, but I did put a market table inside where someone could sell things should they so choose. In the back corner, there's a bathroom for the customers, as well as the stairwell that leads upstairs that's completely locked off to customers. And in the back room is the studio space that we had before, where she can do her photos and any kind of office work that she needs to do for her. On the wall, I hung a lot of her equipment, and that little gold thing at the top there is the award that she won. There's a seating space for her clients, and then, of course, there are other awards and certificates and such that we're going to pretend that she earned. On the exterior, I had added some more of the eco-lifestyle solar panels, and then around back there's also some of those dew collectors that will help with the bills a little bit going forward. And so, yeah, there you have it. We have Annie's little slice of heaven here in Tiny Town. Annie Aperture maxed out her photography skill. She worked as a freelance photographer and climbed the ranks with that as well. She built her dream industrial-style tiny home and studio, and contributed to the community with an art gallery for all to enjoy. This one was a little more tame than previous episodes, what with no deaths or ghost revivals, but it was still a lot of fun for me, and I hope y'all had fun too. Thank you so much for watching and being patient with me with the delay in getting this one out. Very soon I hope to put out a stop motion video I've been working on as well, so keep an eye out for that. And then of course I've got to get back in here with Mr. Cypress Handyman and have him finish out this wonderful little town. We're almost done with this one, y'all. It's so hard to believe, but here we are. Please take a second to feed the algorithm and hit the like button if you're enjoying these. Feel free to leave a comment and say hi. Share the videos with your friends if you think they'd enjoy this content too. And finally, please make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything coming up in the future. Until next time, take care of yourself. Dag dag.